Discover 10 spine-chilling encounters in haunted Appalachian towns revealed for the first time. Sarah felt the weight of Hollow Creek hovering over her like an oppressive fog as she and her son, Tyler, pulled into the small Appalachian town. What once seemed like a fresh start, a chance to escape the chaos of city life after her painful divorce, now sent shivers down her spine. The woods surrounding their modest house whispered secrets as ancient as the air itself. Shadows danced just beyond her line of vision, darting between the trees like small, lost souls. Each moment felt thick with a foreboding unease. The air prickled, alive with the unsettling sensation of being watched. "Mom, look!" Tyler exclaimed, pointing at a group of children playing tag. For him, this little town was enchanting, a fairy tale escape filled with possibilities. But Sarah's heart thudded painfully. She couldn't shake off the stories she'd heard, the tales of people who simply vanished. Whispers about Mr. Fenwick, the ancient man next door who had once led town meetings. His eyes had a steeliness that sent bolts of dread racing through her veins. Something was deeply wrong here. Strange occurrences unfolded around them. Hollow breezes that seemed to carry echoes of laughter that felt wrong. At twilight, the townsfolk's friendly demeanor morphed into something sinister. Their smiles seemed rehearsed, like masks hiding malevolent truths. Sarah tried to convince herself it was mere paranoia. It was too long before even the warm oak trees seemed to pulse with anticipation. On the night of the annual Harvest Moon Festival, amidst glimmering lights and bizarre decorations, Tyler begged to join the other children. Against her instincts, she allowed him to go, hoping the vibrant atmosphere would quell her nerves. But as darkness draped over Hollow Creek, the festival's charm turned sour, the festive laughter wrapping around her like a noose. Something primal throbbed in her chest, an unshakable sense of danger loomed just beyond her reach. As the sun dipped, Sarah stared at the crowd, suddenly aware of how the townsfolk moved in harmonious, synchronized. Panic knotted her stomach when she couldn't find Tyler. "Tyler," she called, her voice rising over the festive music. The ground beneath her felt like it teetered, everything twisting as if the merriment was just a bated breath before chaos. Dread pooled in her gut, the air alive with latent horror. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue." A flash of silver hair caught her eye. Maud, the town elder. With piercing eyes that seemed to see into her soul, Maud stepped closer. "You shouldn't be here, child," she murmured, each word dripping with an ominous weight that hung heavily in the air. "This night is not what it seems." Suddenly, Sarah felt a cold sweat lining her palms. The laughter around her felt mocking, twisted. Maud's warnings blended with the cacophony, barely audible but spinning in her mind like a siren's song. The glimmering lights at the festival flickered ominously. As she swept through the crowd, searching for Tyler, she felt the festival pulsing around her, a mechanism of some dark design, an offering to the shadows lurking just beyond sight. Hearts raced among the people, but fear twisted into something darker, coiling around Sarah's resolve. When a piercing scream split through the festive atmosphere, terror gripped her completely, forcing her to confront the shocking realization that she might never see Tyler again. In that moment, the joyous facade of Hollow Creek disintegrated. It dawned on her she wasn't just fighting for her son, she was fighting for her very survival as the night thickened and shadows closed in. And among the sea of smiling faces, she understood that the real horror was only beginning. Sarah's heart raced as the scream reverberated through the air, slicing through the murmur and laughter like a knife. The crowd shifted, eyes wide and darting, terror settling like dust on anxious shoulders. She felt the floor beneath her foot shift, a tremor that resonated from somewhere deep within the ground, as if Hollow Creek itself was breathing, alive with dark intent. "Tyler," she shouted again, her voice rising above the disturbing cheer of the festival. Fear coiled tighter around her throat. People milled about, blissfully unaware of the menace lurking within their cheerful facade. It was all a grotesque illusion. Children continued to chase each other, but now their laughter felt hollow, echoing off the trees in a dissonant tune that sent a chill straight down Sarah's spine. She turned frantically, scanning the faces of strangers, searching for the one she loved most. The festival, once vibrant, now pulsed with malevolence. Candles flickered with unnatural flames, casting writhing shadows on the ground. The decorations, once innocent, now appeared twisted, like grotesque puppets dangling from unseen strings. "Where are you, Tyler?" Sarah whispered to herself, panic surging within her. In that moment, she spotted Mr. Fenwick, standing at the edge of the festivities, his eyes reflecting the glimmer of the festival lights yet seeming somehow void, unfocused. He stared right at her, a knowing sadness etched into his aged visage. "Help!" she cried, stumbling toward him. "Have you seen my son?" As she closed in, he remained motionless, like a statue anchored to a cruel reality. "He is not where you think, dear," he said, words creeping like smoke. "They take what they need on nights like this." His voice trailed off, swallowed by the throbbing darkness that seemed to seep from the trees. "Take?" Sarah murmured, dread pooling in her chest. A sinking realization washed over her. Were they not simply celebrating but offering lives? Offering children? The notion felt too monstrous to entertain, yet the fear that gripped her told her it was real. She whipped around, scanning more faces, desperate. A chilling laugh cut through the crowd, invasive and mocking, drawing her attention. A small group of children, too many, way too many, stood nearby, their eyes glazed and devoid of youth. Tyler seemed to be among them, his posture stiff, a puppet in a deadly play. "No!" she screamed, pushing through throngs of people. She reached out, her fingertips grazing his arm, but he turned away, his face now an empty mask. The town folk shifted, their movements in sync, forming a barrier around the circle of twisted joy. "Let him go!" she yelled, pulling at Tyler, who was now a mere reflection of the boy she knew. His laughter, once pure and innocent, felt alien as it echoed back. Their eyes met, and she felt the warmth of him dim. "Mom, it's fun," he said, every word feeling wrong, loaded with an eerie chill that chilled her to the bone. The other children giggled, a sound that echoed maliciously in her ears. "Run! Tyler, we need to leave." Her breath hitched, urgency flooding her voice as she fought against the tide of bewildering normalcy that wrapped around her. She tugged at him again, desperation thrumming through her veins, but the crowd pulsed like one organism, closing in, the dance of shadows growing even more frenzied. As she struggled, fear clawed at her heart, and a part of her feared there might be no real escape from this hellish nightmare. Suddenly, the lights dimmed, plunging the festival into darkness. A momentary silence followed, thick as molasses, interrupted only by the echoing laughter, different now, more pronounced, like the sound of 1,000 tiny bells. And then, from the shadows, figures emerged, eyes glowing like coals, mouths twisted in smiles that promised only doom. Their presence felt ancient, a dark hunger radiating into the night air. In that chilling instant, Sarah understood there was something far worse than she could imagine just behind the mask of Hollow Creek's festive season, a darkness that had existed for centuries. "Mom." Tyler's voice trembled, a spark of recognition glimmering in his tone just before the world around them erupted into chaos. What awaited behind the veil of those sinister smiles? Would Sarah be able to pull her son back from the abyss before it claimed them both? The ground pulsed beneath Sarah's feet as darkness enveloped them. Shadows twisted and writhed, consuming the remnants of light. Panic surged anew, hot and suffocating. The laughter transformed, resonating through the trees like shattered glass. "Tyler!" she screamed, her voice cracking, the sound of despair echoing back at her from the unseen depths. The faint glow of children's eyes glimmered like embers in an extinguishing fire, and for a heartbeat, she saw Tyler as just a flicker of the boy she knew, but there were no longer innocent faces. The children's pallor dripped with a spectral hue, their eyes void of warmth. They warped around Tyler, their movements syncopated, entrancing in a way that twisted Sarah's stomach. Each giggle was laced with malevolence, pulling at the edges of her sanity. "Tyler!" she cried again, pushing through the throng, every movement heavy with dread. No one seemed to notice her desperation, their faces obscured in ecstatic oblivion. She felt clutches of cold fingers wrap around her heart. She fought against the crushing tide, clawing her way closer to her boy. What were they doing? The grotesque dance meshed with the shadows, turning the festival scene into a dark carnival of horrors. There was no joy, only a drumming rhythm that pulsated in her ears, matching the agonizing beat of her heart. "Join us. It's fun." A child, no, something that looked like one spoke, but the voice rang hollow, lacking the spark of childhood. Sarah staggered back, the laughter weaving through her mind like a haunting melody she could not escape. "Please, you have to hold on." The anguish in her voice was desperation personified. She strained to reach Tyler, outstretching her hand, fighting the invisible force anchoring him, but then a shift. As shadows danced erratically, she saw them, the figures stepping out, stalking forward. Their frames were cloaked in darkness, long limbs and exaggerated features morphing with the flickering glow. Eyes glared malevolently, reflecting not light, but an abyss of suppressed hunger. The crowd fell silent, their joyous facade cracking under the pressure of the encroaching void. "Mom!" Tyler's voice sounded choked, each syllable low and drawn. I want to play." Her heart shattered at the unnatural innocence in his tone. This was not her son, this was a vessel, a ghost of a child lost to the night. "No, Tyler. It's not fun. They want to take you." She strained with all her might toward him, fingers clutching in vain at air turned dense like mist. A slick, oily whisper moved through the air, a chorus of voices weaving around like smoke. "They always take what they need." The melody intertwined with their macabre laughter, chilling her to the bone. Suddenly, the air shifted. A breeze, raw and cold, tore through the crowd, unraveling the spell of merriment. The shadows recoiled a fraction, releasing a low growl, and Sarah thought she saw fear in their eyes, a fleeting moment of doubt that grounded her courage. "Tyler!" she gasped, fueled by this glimmer of strength. She lunged toward him, the instinct to protect burning fiercely in her chest. Her hand found his shoulder, gripping hard. For an instant, their eyes locked. Then, the world cracked open. The shadows screeched, a cacophony of rage, and the children let out a wail that tore through her very essence. With renewed vigor, Sarah pulled Tyler towards her, but something shot forward, wrapping around his arm, a tendril of darkness pulling him back into its grasp. "Mom, help!" His voice was a scream now, desperation spilling forth into the night, and the fear coursing through her veins turned icy. The darkness pulsed like a heartbeat as the figures encircled them, their intentions sharp and eager. Would she lose him forever? Would the demons of Hollow Creek claim him? As the shadows loomed, their twisted smiles widening, Sarah steeled herself. There had to be a way out. She could not go down without a fight. But with each heartbeat, it felt more and more like the night was swallowing her whole, an endless abyss more treacherous than she could imagine. What new horrors lay in wait, lurking in the depths of that suffocating darkness? Would Sarah confront the unimaginable to save her child? The grip of the shadows tightened, the air thickening with malevolence. Sarah's thoughts raced, mingling with primal fear. With a sudden clarity, she snarled against the darkness. "You will not take him." Her voice pierced the night, reverberating with defiance. Tyler's face twisted in terror, eyes pleading. "Mom, please." The tendril tightened around his arm, pulling him deeper into the mass of shadows. Dread blanketed Sarah, but something flickered inside her, a fire stoked by love, fierce and unyielding. Gathering her strength, she pushed through the swirling mass of whispers, a relentless force against the grip of despair. She had come too far to back down now. "Let him go!" she shouted, stronger this time, words erupting like a battle cry. She felt the ground tremble beneath her feet, echoing her resolve. For a moment, the shadows hesitated, their forms flickering like dying flames. Then, the laughter returned, sharper, more chaotic. It sliced through the air, drowning her resistance in a cacophony of madness. The figures shifted, their grotesque smiles twisting wider, revealing elongated teeth that glinted like knives against the fading light. For a split second, Sarah's gaze darted around at the disfigured faces of the children trapped in this living nightmare. Deep inside their hollow stares, she saw echoes of familiarity, lost hopes, dreams twisted by despair. They were once just like Tyler, and that knowledge ignited a fiercer determination within her heart. "Please, Tyler. Hold on. Mom, I'm scared." His voice trembled, resonating with her own terror. She could almost reach him, fingers brushing against his shoulder, but the tendril yanked him back, and a low growl reverberated through the air, thick with malice. In that moment of panic, Sarah's eyes landed on an object, a rusted bell lying abandoned amidst the wreckage of the carnival. Its surface was slick with darkness, but the metal glinted, promising hope. She turned, looking back at Tyler, who flailed helplessly in the throng. Without thinking, she lunged for the bell, gripping it tightly in her trembling hands. "Get back!" she shouted, swinging the bell like a weapon, its sound slicing through the chaos. The echoes rattled against the encroaching darkness, shaking the shadows as they recoiled. She could feel the air shift, lighter now. The laughter faltered, replaced by hesitant murmurs. "What is she doing?" The figures recoiled, their confidence shaking as the sound surged forward. "Tyler! Come to me!" With a flick of her wrist, she rang the bell again. The notes rang out, pure and bright, filling the void where sorrow had dominated. The grip of the shadows slackened, just a bit. It was a chink in their armor, a chime of hope. She reached out again, desperation painted across her face, but as she tugged, the shadows hissed, a foreboding warning that reverberated through her spine. They surged forward, claws of darkness clawing for her, their howls mingling with the desperate cries of lost souls echoed endlessly. "Mom!" Tyler screamed, straining against the darkness that swirled like a storm. She couldn't let him go. "Not now." With a fierce determination, Sarah rang the bell again, its sound wrapping around her like a shield. The light returned, flickering with defiance against the darkness that desired to consume them. Yet, as she fought, she sensed something chilling within the shadows, a flicker of recognition. They resisted, but she felt hesitation, like they were being pushed back by the purity of the bell's toll. Would it be enough? Suddenly, a voice emerged from the shadows, slithering through the air. "You think sound can save you? He is ours." A dark figure stepped forward, towering over Tyler, its eyes glowing with an unnatural intensity. It grinned, a smile too wide, as if tasting victory. Was this the mastermind behind the chaos? Who was this creature, and what did it mean for Tyler? As Sarah held her breath, her heart being pulled from within, time stood still. She had to think fast. This was the moment of reckoning. Would she silence the darkness, or would it consume them all? What ancient secret dwelled within the shadows, and would Sarah uncover the truth in time to save her son? The shadows swirled around Sarah, an ebbing tide of despair that whispered her deepest fears. The creature's grin widened, revealing rows of jagged teeth dripping with darkness. It stepped forward, exuding an air of authority that made her skin crawl. "You've grown stronger, little mother," it hissed, taunting her with a chilling familiarity. "But do you truly think you can take him back?" Tyler struggled against the tightening grip, eyes wild with terror. "Mom! Please!" The creature's gaze sharpened, glimmering with malice. "You've seen their faces, haven't you? Understand their pain." It gestured to the ghostly children surrounding them, their forms shifting like smoke, trapped in a cycle of agony. "He will join them. And soon, so will you." "No!" Sarah shouted, desperation fueling her. The bell pulsed in her hands, its metal warm against her skin. "You won't take him." As the bell rang out again, the sound resonated, cutting through the oppressive haze. The shadows shifted, retreating momentarily like a tide before a storm. For that brief moment, she felt hope surge. Could she really hold them at bay? But then came the laughter, the grotesque, distorted laughter that danced around them like bats in the night, echoing in her bones. Us? Fear. You should be trembling. The creature taunted, its voice seeping into her mind like poison. The children's eyes flickered from hollow, soulless voids to glimmers of recognition, whispers of their former lives. Did they know her? Were they trying to warn her? Panic gripped her as she realized they bore no power here, just echoes of lost innocence. Tyler! Sarah cried, reaching out, her heart racing. He met her gaze, the trust shining through despite the growing dread. For a moment, she could see the boy he once was, brave, filled with laughter. But that was slipping away like sand through her fingers. Mom, I can't hold on. Please. The creature's smile deepened, relishing the moment. It's already begun. He has chosen, Mother. Their bond is forged in darkness. With each word, the shadows surged, clawing and biting, threatening to engulf her son. She needed to act now. She needed to break the bond, to sever the ties that held Tyler in their grim embrace. The bell's ringing was only the first step. Tell me what he is. A surge of courage propelled her, defiance coursing through her veins. What do you want? Innocence, dear mother, it replied, voice dripping with delight. Sweet, pure innocence. He is just a shell and soon, he will be one of us. They crave a leader. Sarah's mind reeled as the gravity of its words sank in. No. I won't let you. With a frantic determination, she rang the bell again. The sound pulsed like a heartbeat, a desperate plea in the dark. Shadows wavered, momentarily unsettled by the noise. She clamped her eyes shut, focusing on the connection she had to Tyler, the love that enveloped them both. Tyler, fight. Come to me. The shadows screamed, a cacophony of lost children calling out in chorus, their voices laced with despair. Join us, Tyler. A cold understanding washed over Sarah. It was not only a battle for Tyler's life, it was a war for the very soul of everyone entrapped here. Suddenly, a dark storm erupted, the creature advancing, furious. It lunged at her, tendrils of shadow reaching, clawed fingers groping for her throat. With terror surging through her, Sarah held the bell high, willing it to resonate with every ounce of love she had for her son. A blinding flash erupted as the bell rang, vibrating through the fabric of night. The whispers turned into deafening howls, the shadows recoiling, a storm of rage crashing against her resolve, but even through the chaos, one question lingered in her mind. What if the bond they shared could be both a weapon and a shield? Could it break the darkness once and for all? Or would she only unleash something far worse? Time raced as she felt the bell slip slightly in her grasp, uncertainty creeping in. Would she discover the truth at the heart of the darkness? Or would it consume them both before dawn? The world blurred in chaos, tendrils of shadow clawing at Sarah's arm as she desperately clung to the bell. The shrieks of lost children grew louder, reverberating in her ears, drowning her in a sea of despair. Tyler's face twisted with anguish, his form flickering as if he was caught between two realms. She could see him slipping away. Mom, please. His voice was a jagged shard piercing through the cacophony. The creature advanced, its movements smooth yet jerky, like a marionette pulled by invisible strings. You are too late, Mother. Shut up. Sarah screamed. She couldn't let it win. The shadows darkened, their whispers now a chorus of deceit surrounding her, trying to pull her under. You don't own him. With fierce determination, she swung the bell, its ringing slicing through the gloom, building waves of sound that shook the shadows. It wasn't enough, the creature's laughter mixed with the howls, creating a sickening symphony. Make it stop. Make it stop. Tyler cried, his fingers twitching as if reaching for something just out of grasp. The creature coiled around him, fingers of shadow wrapping tightly around his throat. Together, you both will know freedom and despair. The bell's ringing slowed, her grip faltering. Fear clutched her heart, and for a moment, her resolve wavered. Who could fight this darkness? Who could break such a bond? But then she remembered Tyler's laughter, the sunlight on his face, and the way his hand had felt as they walked in those summer days. No! She cried, surging forward. She tapped into every fond memory she had of him, pouring it all into the bell. The sound resonated again, sharper, a beacon cutting through the dark. The shadows recoiled, hissing, shrieking, yet they remained determined, clawing at the edges of Sarah's resolve. In that instant, Sarah felt a shift, a faint warmth spreading from her heart to the bell. It pulsed, catching the essence of her love, blossoming into a flickering light that pushed against the darkness. You will not take him from me. The creature's grin faltered, uncertainty flickering in its gaze. It took a hesitant step back, the grip on Tyler's throat loosening. No. This cannot be. It shrieked, its voice shredding through what remained of the calm. Tyler, grab the bell. She urged. Trust me. Even as shadows loomed around his fragile form, she saw him reach deep within himself, a spark flickering in his eyes. The moment hung in the air. Would he respond? Would he fight? With every ounce of will and love, Sarah rang the bell again, sending a shockwave through the shadows. The balance shifted, the room spinning violently as the shadows collided with the burgeoning light. Then, before she could comprehend the sudden quiet, everything changed. The creature let out a howling scream, a sudden cacophony of rage and fear. You think you can save him? They all join us eventually. Shadows lashed out with desperation, thrashing, trying to reclaim what was slipping from their grasp. No. Not my son. Something flared to life within her, an ancient power igniting. But just as hope surged, the bell fell silent, the light dimming, shadows creeping back, hungry for the warmth it had felt. Sarah's heart raced, panic setting in again. As she grasped at the darkness, it slithered just out of reach. Tyler's eyes, filled with hope, began to fade into an abyss. Mom! Help me! He screamed, a sound of pure terror piercing her soul. The shadows swelled, swirling around them, and in that moment, Sarah realized she hadn't just awakened some ancient magic. She provoked something far more terrifying, something that had been waiting, lurking just beneath the surface, waiting for the moment of despair to strike. Suddenly, a new voice joined the fray, soft yet menacing. Let us see how far further this bond goes, mother. And like that, the surrounding darkness began to pulse with a life of its own, shadows morphing and shifting, ready to unveil their true form. What Sarah didn't know was lurking in the depths. Was it already too late? Would the bond they forged in love become a weapon for the shadows? As the darkness thickened, she braced herself for the truth waiting just beyond. The shadows twisted like smoke, their forms wailing and writhing as they closed in on Sarah and Tyler. What had once been a carpet of darkness now felt like a living entity, eager to consume them whole. Sarah's breath quickened, her heart pounding against her ribs like a frantic drum. The air thickened, saturated with an oppressive dread, and in that terror, Sarah felt time stretch, the world narrowing down to the pulse of her own uncertainty. Just hold on. She shouted, desperately trying to push the shadows away. The chill brushed against her skin, a cold breath that slithered up her spine. Tyler's face was a mirror of her own terror, eyes wide and fighting back tears. Panic was creeping in, threatening to drown them both. Mom! Please, help! His small voice cracked, tremors of fear spilling into the air. With the bell in hand, she seized the moment, swinging it fiercely. The chime rang out, a clear note cutting through the despair. For a heartbeat, the shadows recoiled, retreating as if the sound burned them. But it was fleeting. They surged forward again, undeterred, hungry. Stay away from him! Sarah screamed, rallying every ounce of courage she could muster. She conjured memories of joy, their laughter at the park, mornings filled with silly cereal spills, the warmth of a hug after a hard day. Each recollection wrapped around her heart, fortifying her spirit against the encroaching dark. The echoes of her love filled the air, buoying the sound of the bell. Light flickered once more, struggling to escape the grip of the darkness, casting fragments of brightness that transformed into ethereal shapes. Shadows hissed, swirling madly, but she pressed forward, ringing the bell with all her might. Tyler. Fight back. You can do this. Somewhere in that absolute chaos, she noticed a shift. Tyler's fingers twitched, grasping at the void. The glint in his eyes hinted at a recognition, a flickering spark of defiance igniting as he fought against the shroud of despair. "Mom," he started, his voice barely a whisper. The creature's laughter, a cacophonous blend of malice and mockery, filled the air. It echoed around them, bouncing off the walls with a taunting rhythm. "Your love means nothing here. Shut up." Sarah cried out, rage and despair fusing, boiling over into a fierce fury. She swung the bell again, letting its pure tone shatter the creature's words. "You think you can take him? You're wrong." As the bell pierced through the darkness, vibrations rippled like waves, pushing against the walls of shadows. For a moment, Sarah could almost see Tyler's silhouette breaking free from the dark threads entangling him. But just as hope blossomed, it was cruelly yanked away. The shadows shifted, growing resilient, thickening, darkening the air around them until it felt suffocating. With an almost sentient hunger, they surged, swallowing every glimmer of light, pulling Tyler deeper into the abyss. "No." Sarah's voice shredded the air, filled with despair. "I won't let you take him. I want." The realization hit her like a tidal wave. The bond they shared was the key. A bond forged in layers of love, vulnerability every heartfelt moment. It was also becoming a target. She had to take the fight deeper. Her thoughts raced. It was not just about protection anymore. It was about facing whatever was in the depths and unearthing the truth. With determination, Sarah clutched the bell tighter, preparing herself for the unknown war that lay ahead. Shadows recoiled, warping at her will as if sensing a challenge. But then something drew closer from the depths. Out from the pulsing darkness, deeper than anything she had encountered, a voice slithered forward phantom-like, resonating with an ancient malice. "You think love is enough to save you?" Something was awakening. Something relentless, a ghost from shadows long past, ready to claw through their connection. What horrors would Sarah unveil next? Who or what would emerge from the shadows to reveal the truth behind their suffering? Sarah inhaled sharply, bracing for the heart-stopping revelation that was about to unfold. A tremor rippled through Sarah, and as she exhaled, the chill in the air intensified. The voice was haunting, slithering into her mind, tempting her fears to surface. It twisted around her thoughts, but she pushed back hard, clenching the bell tighter. "You have no power over me," she shouted, though her voice quaked with uncertainty. The darkness rippled, though, shifting like fabric caught in a storm. Tyler's whimper broke through, echoing in the oppressive silence that enveloped them. Every second twisted like a knife in her gut. The shadows weren't mere shapes, they were hungry, alive with a malevolence that made her stomach churn. "Tyler! Fight!" She could barely see him now, a silhouette lost in the expanding void that swallowed everything: hope, courage, light. "You think you can resist?" The voice taunted, a sudden burst of laughter like shattered glass. "You see, my dear, love is just a puppet string, and I'm the one who holds the control." Music swelled within the horror, a melody haunting as it curled around her, tempting her to falter. She closed her eyes, focusing on his presence, every moment of joy they shared flooding into her. As the bell rang out with more urgency, light flickered once again, brighter this time, a small sun igniting amidst the encroaching night. The shadows hissed, recoiling from the sound that bit into their essence. "Keep going." Tyler's voice, stronger now, broke through the haze, urging her on. Sarah's heart raced faster. With renewed strength, she swung the bell again, and the light cascaded. For an instant, she was engulfed in warmth, the shadows hesitating. She could see Tyler more clearly, a beam of hope piercing through the haze that threatened to suffocate them both. "Focus, Tyler!" she yelled, her voice laced with fear and defiance. "Think of our happy place. The summer trips, the fireworks." In the depths of the shadows, something stirred a movement that sent a ripple of dread coursing through her. Shapes began to form and dissolve, shifting like whirlwinds. Tendrils snaked around her ankles, anchoring her further into the darkness. "You cling to those memories because you're scared of the truth," the voice said, now sounding closer. It oozed with a sickly sweetness, dripping with malice. "You're afraid to learn what this bond really means." The shadows churned faster, swirling around her with wild desperation. Sarah's mind raced, battling the confusion, the white-hot tendrils of fear creeping up her spine. This was a nightmare unfurling in real time, but she needed to stay strong for Tyler. "Mom!" Tyler shouted, but the shadows clamped down, shadows tugging at him and pulling him further into the abyss. "I can't hold on much longer." "No." Fresh tears streamed down her cheeks, but she wiped them away angrily. She had to keep fighting. "You're not going to lose him. We will break this." A surge of energy erupted from her heart, emotions swirling into a vortex of determination. The bell in her hand pulsed, becoming an extension of her spirit. The memories she summoned ignited flames of courage. And then, the ground beneath them shook, a rumbling tremor that pushed them forward like monstrous waves. "Enough!" she bellowed, the desperation behind her tone making the very air vibrate. "You don't own him. You never will." The shadows recoiled once more, but a new presence emerged more horrifying, more powerful than before. Eyes, glistening and cruel, revealed themselves beyond the veil of darkness, piercing through the veil. They watched, observing, and waiting. Sarah's breath caught in her throat as the entity fully materialized, towering over them with an otherworldly aura. A twisted grin spread, revealing jagged teeth. Shall we truly unveil the secrets that lie deep within? In that terrifying moment, Sarah understood. She was not just fighting for Tyler, she was about to uncover the unsettling reality of their existence, the truth of their bond that had caught the attention of the shadow-esque grotesque watcher. What hidden horrors would unravel in the face of this malevolence? What twisted reality would they have to confront if, indeed, love wasn't enough to save them? The air was thick enough to strangle hope. Shadows twisted dangerously, pulling at every thread of Sarah's sanity. She felt like a rag doll in a storm, tossed by unseen hands, her heart pounding like a war drum in her chest. The entity loomed closer, each jagged tooth gleaming with the promise of despair. "Speak, dear Sarah. Do you wish to know what lies beneath your bond with Tyler?" The voice was smooth, like syrupy poison, curling around her skull, squeezing her thoughts, drawing out her deepest fears. "Stop it!" she gasped, pressing her back into the cold wall of solid darkness. "You don't know anything about us." "Oh, but I do." The entity's eyes glimmered with a predatory gleam. "You think love is enough to fight me, to withstand the truths hidden in shadows? Let me show you." With a flick of its wrist, time seemed to freeze. The world around her shimmered, and suddenly she was no longer in that suffocating abyss. She stood in a stark, sterile room, walls painted a sickly white. A hospital room. Tyler lay on a bed, limp and pale, attached to machines that beeped an eerie rhythm. "Tyler!" Panic surged through Sarah's veins as she rushed to his side. She could touch him, feel the coldness of his skin beneath her fingers. The beeping quickened, matching her frantic heartbeat. "You did this, you and your love." The sinister voice echoed behind her, reverberating like a thunderclap. "He is not just your child, he is a vessel, a key to so much more. His suffering, your love, it all serves a greater purpose." The machines around Tyler emitted sharp, painful sounds, and Sarah could see the rhythm of his breaths fading, each exhale like a death knell. "What purpose? What are you saying?" "Revelation, truth, despair. You hope to save him, to shield him from a reality he must face. But the bond you share is a gateway to a world where dark desires must be fed suddenly. The walls closed in, and shadows poured from every corner, pouring over Tyler, like dark tendrils seeking to consume him whole. Sarah screamed, reaching for him, but her body felt slow, as if caught in molasses. No. Tyler, fight. You have to fight. She cried, desperation clawing at her throat. The shadows engulfed him, his form flickering like a weak flame caught in a gale of wind. She felt sick. The ground beneath her began to tremble again, but not with the unyielding darkness this time. It was something else not unlike a heartbeat, strong and rhythmic. Was it a warning? An invitation? The voice laughed, a cold, chilling sound that sent waves of ice down her spine. You think you can summon the strength? You're trapped, my dear. Embrace the truth. The shadows shifted and formed again, melting together until a figure emerged, one that bore a shocking resemblance to Sarah herself, a twisted version, with hollow eyes and a haunting smile. Look, dear heart, the doppelganger taunted. At what you're becoming. Will you save him, or save yourself? No. The word erupted from Sarah's throat like a scream of defiance. But doubt crept in, worming through her veins as the monstrous figure glared back, hungry and expectant. His life is entwined with yours, and you must decide where to draw the line, the entity looming over them whispered, its voice a silken snare tightening around her heart. In an instant, the room dissolved again, leaving Sarah grappling with visions and echoes of torment, not just of Tyler, but of her past, a web of choices and consequences that twisted her spirit. Would she hold on to the love she cherished, or would she uncover the truth and risk everything? Sarah's heart raced as the world around her darkened once more, a storm waiting to break loose. Time to choose, Sarah. Shadows danced menacingly around, as a new horizon of dread loomed closer. Will it be the truth or the love? As uncertainty choked her, the air thick with tension, the shadowy figure leaned in closer, whispering the secrets of her heart that made her tremble in fear. What revelation awaited her that could either shatter her spirit or strengthen it? The depth of the darkness didn't just hold her fear. It held the answer. And it was waiting. The stifling darkness pulsed, a living thing fueled by despair, echoing Sarah's racing thoughts. Shadows writhed around her, whispering ugly punctuations to her memories, reminding her of everything she had lost, everything she feared. Tyler's face, pale and filled with dread, haunted her dreams. She was standing on the edge of a precipice, and beneath her was an abyss of questions, truths that threatened to unravel the very foundation of her love. Choose, Sarah, the sinister voice murmured, a delicate taunt that twisted her insides. What will it be? The truth or the love? The image of her son flickered in her mind, caught between the vibrant joy of a memory and the pallor of the hospital bed she had just witnessed. Images collided, the warmth of their shared laughter tearing against the icy grasp of sickness threatening to swallow him whole. I refuse to choose. She shouted, her voice laced with defiance. I want to let you tear us apart. With those words, she felt a peculiar strength surge inside her, a flicker of resistance within the swell of shadows that surrounded her. Determination coursed through her veins, igniting something long buried in her heart. Suddenly, she remembered the bell, the sound that had once pushed the shadows back, the love behind its chime. Whatever you are, you don't know what we have. She yelled, swinging the bell with ferocity, ringing out a triumphant note. The sound echoed through the oppressive darkness, cutting sharp as glass, a break in the relentless void. The shadows recoiled, shrieking like tortured souls, their laughter morphing into frustrated howls as they shrank back. No. You can't. The entity roared, its twisted form trembling as if threatened by each note. Tyler. Fight back. She screamed again, urging him, willing him to break through whatever grip they had on him. The shadows sparked with rage and drew closer, seeking to crush them beneath their weight. In that tumultuous moment, Tyler's voice broke through the chaos, vibrant and strong despite the heaviness of despair. Mom. His eyes flooded with clarity, flickering like fading stars. I can hear you. She felt the ground tremble beneath them again, not with despair this time, but with a rhythmic pulse like a heartbeat, their heartbeat. The walls of darkness shuddered as more warmth surged through the bell, coursing into her outstretched hand. Hold on. Can you hear the beat? It's us. Sarah shouted. It's our love, Tyler. We've made it through so much before. We can make it through this. With every ounce of spirit she had left, Sarah rang the bell again, sending waves of light through the blackness that sought to ensnare them. The creature, losing its authority, shrieked in anger. You think love can save you? You're trapped. No amount of hope can change your fate. But Sarah refused to yield. You don't understand. Love is power. It's what keeps us alive. As her voice exploded with raw emotion, the shadows began to unravel, tentacles of darkness slithering away, their forms evaporating into fragments of despair. From within that crushing void, she saw him, Tyler, pale but alive, reaching through the darkness to her. Mom! I'm fighting, I'm trying. The light from the bell pulsed wildly around them, illuminating his figure like a beacon, drawing him closer, strengthening the bond between them. Don't let go. Come to me. She urged, fighting against everything pulling him back. The shadows howled in fury, surging around them, but Sarah gripped the bell harder, ringing it with ferocity, flooding the air with warmth and love. I am that love. She shouted, her voice blending with the bell's sound, drowning the darkness in an outpouring of light. The shadows screamed, their forms dissipating like mist under the sun, unable to contend with the strength radiating from Sarah's heart. Mom, I love you. Tyler cried, his voice breaking like a dam. Joy and despair collided until, in one triumphant chorus, the shadows shattered and exploded in a blinding light, setting them both free. Together, Tyler and Sarah stumbled through the remnants of the darkness, the oppressive weight lifting until she scooped him into her arms. They fell to the ground in a heap, surrounded now by the gentle glow of dawn breaking through the dark trees, a vibrant life taking hold where shadows once loomed. Thank you, for fighting for me, Tyler whispered, cradling his mother as tears streamed down his cheeks. Sarah smiled through her relief, feeling the weight of worry begin to lift. Always. I will always fight for you. As the first light of morning filled Hollow Creek, painting the town in hues of warmth and renewed life, the horrors of the night slipped away like a fading nightmare, but deep inside, a whisper still lingered. They had encountered darkness, but they emerged stronger, united, and in the light, they would honor those caught in shadows, carrying their memory like a flicker of hope in their hearts forever. This was their farewell to fear, a promise that love prevails amidst nightmares. And just when Sarah thought it was over, a chilling laughter echoed softly from the trees, a reminder for them to stay vigilant. The shadows could return, now, as the adventure of Hollow Creek began to recede into memory. Sarah and Tyler took their first steps toward the sunlight, hearts intertwined, ready to embrace whatever future awaited them. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss out on our next thrilling stories. Smash that like button now to keep the good content flowing to you. And I want to hear from you. Flood the comments with your thoughts and theories about this conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. Let us keep the momentum going. Your support helps keep the channel alive.